Welcome everyone to Politically High Tech with your host, Elias. I have a new guest. Yep. Okay. So going back to some of the newcomers. Why is that? Because I like to spice things up. And, I can't just always bring in the recurring guests. I mean, they're great and all. They've been proven to be well, at least some of them. But, we got to change things up. I like to just spice things up. That's why I'm not that transparent with my guest list, unless I know for a fact they are coming. And I can guarantee that I cannot pull a gun right through the screen and force them to come. I mean, I wish I don't have that. I probably would have been a lot more authoritarian, and then I would have a very bad rep. And I would just say, hey, I need my guests. I need to please my audience. I have a purpose to be this mean. But let's just thank goodness if you're atheist, or thank God I don't have that power. Okay, I would have not probably. I would most definitely abuse it. So you better be. Let me just use Grant for example. He's the guest. I was like, damn it, Grant, you better come here, bring your ass to this podcast, or else. No, but he's safe because this is just sick imagination, and this is, and this is going to have some profanity. I already started. I know we don't start it, but enough of my little random ramblings. So I have a guest here who was going to enlighten us on cybersecurity, and his intended audience is small businesses. They want to help the mom and pops, the ones that some don't got the cash, or maybe some do got the cash, but they're kind of hesitant to use it for cybersecurity. And some, based on what I'm able to gather, cybersecurity is not their main priority. And, they get hacked. You're not going to hear about that in the news. What you hear in the news is the millions of users that get breached, because that's more sensational. That generates fear, not 20 people or 100 people. That's a tough luck for them. And the media don't want boring stories. So you want something that they could generate attention and fear very quickly. So, of course, a number like 1 million is going to be, oh my goodness, I got to check if I have been hacked, instead of just 20, 100 people. So let's welcome Grant McCracken. And for those of you who are just like to twist my words, he is not related to a Kraken. Okay. Let's just be clear about that. So welcome, Grant. What do you want the listeners and the viewers to know about?
Oh boy. My name's Grant. That's about all you need to know. I've been in cybersecurity for a little over 13 years. I've as a practitioner and as an executive. So as a practitioner, I was like an ethical hacker, or penetration tester, identifying security vulnerabilities in web applications, networks, and stuff like that. And, did that for a while, then started managing teams, managing more teams, and, ran a global team at my last organization. And, now started Dark Horse, where we're trying to democratize access to affordable cybersecurity.
So you left the more, I'm assuming, established company, because I think they were more focused on big business and price and all that. So you want to democratize, means increase accessibility for those who really can't afford quality security, right? Do I got that right?
Yeah, I mean, so when I left that organization, I didn't really have a plan, right? I was just like, okay, like, what am I going to do now? And I thought about, I kind of want to go into like, at some point, open like a smoothie stand or like a coffee shop, or maybe go into politics, or, who knows. Right. And, but I was like, okay, what am I good at? Right. What am I uniquely skilled at? And in my view, it's kind of the confluence of security and business and sort of execution and being able to build this thing. So I said, okay, what if I went out and I tried to do something a little bit philanthropic? What if I tried to, instead of, charging an arm and a leg for cybersecurity, I tried to make it as affordable as possible. And so that's kind of what I built with Dark Horse. And there's a couple other things that happened in the process, right? Where we also put together a platform that's, in making it as affordable as possible, what I had to do was abstract out all these different service layers. Well, I used to run the services teams and whatnot. So like I was able to build a platform that makes it easy and accessible for anybody to come in and self-service these sorts of solutions. And by abstracting out those costs, then it makes it far more affordable, so on and so forth. So that's kind of like the genesis story of sort of how and why.
Oh, yeah, giving back and using his talent to help those who are kind of fortunate, and of course, the not so fortunate. Hey, I mean, you got an option right there. I would have promote other cyber securities, but I think one is kind of gone because that website's not available. And the sad part is he was a very popular guest. Popularity does not always equal success. You could interpret it as a shade all you want. That's up to you. Use the comment section. Am I being analytical? Am I being fair? Or I'm throwing shade? That's up to you. I don't care. I really don't. Some of
But
you just
you
don't
had
like what I
somebody on
said.
that was another cybersecurity guest in the past, and
Yeah.
their organization is defunct.
I don't know. I got to double check, but the website's not there. And it looks like, yeah, it's harder for me. So it looked like it's defunct as far as I'm concerned. And
Huh.
oh, well.
Maybe they got acquired. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe. Yeah, because you did mention, you did allude to, but you don't mind Microsoft for crying it. So, hey, oh well. Anyways, well, we got another one here. There you go. Dark Horse. All right. So we got to forget the other one. Hey, but, I mean, hey, it happens. I mean, I'm not going to bash people who try to create businesses. It's a tough thing to
Oh
do.
yeah.
And, I'm not going to gloat on it. And, I respect it, even if it ends up being a failure. Cause look, I'll say 99% of people not willing to try.
Yep.
I mean, I gotta say, I say this podcast is business now. I barely turn profits now. As the years of just be making this as a hobby, so I get it. It's tough, especially when you're one man. I mean, I don't know how I did it, but make it work somehow. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm not gloating. I ain't bashing. You can twist it all the way all you want. I know some of the comments just take the worst clip, the worst thing I say, and just twist it. I'm used to it at this point. I just will say, oh, why did I say no? This is the internet. You just got to ignore the dumb comments, the low IQ comments. You call me stupid or your mama fat, I ignore you. That's it. Feel free to do so. YouTube might cancel you, but not me. So at your risk. It's at your risk, okay? But, I mean, this might be an obvious question, but besides protection, why do small business needs, proactive cybersecurity? I already said before the recording that some of them don't treat it as a priority. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, so in addition to just, you want to not get hacked, right? I think you have a responsibility to your users, right? So it's not just about you and you not getting hacked, right? We were also talking about, the T incident. We don't have to get into it, but, you've got to, your users have to trust you, right? Like they don't have like deep access into your code base and they can't go through and review it and just make sure that like, okay, everything I'm doing here is secure. They trust you, right? You put this out into the world. Your users are trusting you. You have a responsibility to deliver a secure product to them, right? Playing fast and loose with their data, that's not okay. Right. And so, but also, right, you didn't get into business to go out of business, hopefully. And so, if you get popped, right? I don't know how many people are going to use, again, just using T as an example, but like, I think they're probably dead, right? Like who's going to be like, okay, let's just wait for the next, vulnerability to pop up, right? It's, you definitely need to make sure that you're secure. Again, I mean, there's a little bit of selfish self-preservation in there. You have to, but also, for your users, right? It's not just about you, but yeah.
No, like that's a very customer oriented answer, and they expect to be protected. This little thing said prior, was a privacy policy, that pops up during some yes, that they're able to protect it to up to here, and then they always say there are little limitations that if you start sharing whatever, then of course you're not. Of course you're being that's the user's fault for being just careless with information. I mean you can't really control that, and that should not be the business's fault. And some details just to touch this incident at the very surface. Some interesting details have been leaked. I mean, very sensitive conversations have been leaked. And the women were trusting this as their go-to guide on which men they should avoid because either he's a creep or he's a con or, he's a horn dog, whatever negative fill in the blank that you want to call a man, right? Or creep, whatever. That's the intent of using it. Me, I wasn't, as a man, I'm not entirely against the app. I'm not entirely against it because I just think, there's some horrible guys out there. I'm not gonna, I promote pro-man stuff only for those who want to do better. But if they want to continue to be toxic vermin, I don't care
I mean,
about them either.
we review everything else in our lives, right? You got Yelp, for your food, right? Why would you not? Why would you read Amazon reviews? It makes sense that there's reviews. It also makes sense that there's a little bit of social accountability, for lack of a better term. So yeah, I think, I mean, just about the app in general, it's disappointing, if anything, that this app that otherwise seems to fill like a very useful space got popped. Yeah.
Well, get Dark Horse. They gotta do a plugin for you, so you won't deal with this again. Hey,
Yeah.
I'll do a shameless plugin for you. Look, I'm pro-capitalist with implementing only certain socialist features. I mean, the ones I think is going to benefit, the poor, the ones who really need it, not those who could get their asses up and get a job. Yeah, I don't care if I'm Republican there, because there's those who just leech off the government. And I personally know a few examples. Not going to mention them, but I just know a few that they could be really, really getting their butts up, getting to work. And then there's those who need it. And that's why I say protect the social net for those who need it. So that makes me kind of like a centrist on that one. Case by case scenario, not, give everybody benefits. Nope, I'm not for that. Or being too cheap with the benefits, or just eliminate it altogether. But yeah, I make it a little political. So blame me for the politics. Don't blame the guest. Don't blame Grant. Don't blame me for making it a little political. I will make it political at times. So the guest, he's blameless. If you want to blame the guest, I will highlight your silliness on the thing, because he's not making it political. I'm making it political. All right. And but okay, let me just get back on track here. Yeah, it's unfortunate and entities, and this is why they need to have, I think this is good for next question, penetration testing. So what is that? Is it kind of like, the way I think of it, correct me if I'm wrong here, is ethical hacking. So you can find out vulnerabilities and see how you could address them effectively.
Yeah. You kind of nailed it there, right? So a penetration test, as the name implies, right, is where you're trying to penetrate the systems. And so you usually get a scope. Now, there's a lot of different ways that penetration tests can go down, but you usually have a scope, whether that's a web application, a network, a single system, an iOS app, whatever it is, right? And, the tester, a qualified tester, goes through and follows a comprehensive methodology in terms of, okay, let's start at the login form. Okay, what's going on here? Can I do, there's a bunch of different attacks that you do on a login form. Is that secure? Right. And then they move on from that and they test, the account function, and, they go through and they just methodically test the entire application, whatever it is. Right. Or the entire scope. And so that's effectively what a penetration test is where you're having a qualified expert look for vulnerabilities, and then you get a report at the end, and then you remediate those vulnerabilities. Somebody doesn't exploit them in the wild.
This is why you need to talk. Oh God, I'm so shameless. You could call me a bastard capitalist. I'm fine with that.
No,
Look,
I mean, it's,
I mean, is it really a small company? That's a question that's what I should dig into. So how many employees do they have? Because this is a relatively new app, based on my understanding. Let me
yeah,
go look that
and
up.
the SMB market, right? So you mentioned earlier, right? Small and medium businesses. The crazy thing about SMBs is they go all the way up to, you can be like $50 million in revenue and still be at SMB in terms of, so I mean, yeah, I would definitely put them in the SMB category in terms of, yeah, and there's no guarantee that they didn't do a penetration test, right? One of the things we don't know what their security posture was, what they did, what they didn't do. It could be that the tester missed it. It could have been a recent code push. Organizations are, in today's world, right? And this is why at Dark Horse, we've created something called fractional pen testing, where it provides easier access to increments of pen testing. In today's world, you're constantly, I was writing fresh code today, right? With any modern application, you're constantly making improvements, making adjustments, right? But you only test maybe once a year, twice a year, right? If you're really on top of it, you do once a quarter. That's a large gap between, when you potentially push a vulnerability and when it gets identified by a security expert. So anyways, that's, again, just plug in Dark Horse's fractional pen testing, but also, we have no sense of what people have or haven't done. It's just a good recent incident, that highlights the impact or the responsibility that you have to your users and the potential the impact that can have if you get popped. It's not just your business. You're also looking at other people.
I mean, that's actually the most fair, commentary you could provide because you don't know if they did a pen test. That's true. I mean, what specific pen testing did they do? I mean, that's actually a very good question.
Yeah.
And maybe they
Well,
tested other areas, but maybe they didn't test at this particular one that had happened. I mean, that's legitimately a good point.
and
I mean,
there's a lot of like less scrupulous pen tests out there too. So, I mean, one thing at Dark Horse, we pride ourselves on really being methodological and then also, um, human based, right? A lot of these issues aren't necessarily found by scanners, but what you will find with some less scrupulous pen test organizations is they'll run a scan and they'll say, oh, we ran a pen test, and they'll hand you a report and they'll say, here, we did a pen test. Here's your findings or whatever. But like all they did was run a scanner against it. Right. And so if you're not armed with like the information to be able to ask good questions about like, okay, like what are you actually doing? And then to really kind of audit their work, you could potentially end up with somebody saying they did something and they do a very poor job of it. So, there's just it's also just like the Wild West out in the security world.
I mean, we can't. That's the thing. And let's just say the early 2000s. I'm going to go that far back. Look, cybersecurity is more of a luxury, I would say, or very rare, but it was developing at that time, I would say. Correct me if I'm wrong. In the 2010s, that was definitely, formed, developed, but we can't treat it like it's a luxury. It's safe to say it's a necessity, especially in today's age. People's on online more than ever. I mean, these are facts. You could just pull up anything that we spend time digitally more than ever. And, look, I'm using a laptop. I'm assuming you're using a laptop, but a lot of times we're on our smartphones, and that's the me computer that we carry with us vast majority of the time for average users. So I would say cybersecurity is as necessary as physical security. I mean,
Yeah.
one could make an interesting argument that physical security to some degree is even less important, especially if you're probably middle of nowhere. But,
And,
I don't look, that's probably a little of hot take, but that's good for debate. That's a good comment section activity. If you
in the
think,
modern era, I think
yeah,
they're actually the same, very much the same thing. I'm not going to say they're exactly the same thing, but how do you protect your house, right? You got a Ring camera, you got a Blink camera, you got whatever you've got. Everything's digital, right? So, I mean, there's obviously layers to it, right? But I think to your point, right? They are highly interconnected, in this, modern era.
oh yeah, let's just go with that answer. Let me be a coward and just agree, and because that's actually a more sensible answer. Or I could just be a little controversial. Maybe cut down physical security a little bit. No, but seriously, don't do that. Because especially if you're like in a popularly dense area, I would say physical security and cybersecurity is a
Sure.
combination that's a must. Maybe in the rural area, to some degree, yeah, set up something basic, but all I'm going to say is this. Go by what you think is best for you. That's the best answer I could provide. Let me just be very serious. So just, try to say, oh yeah, physical security, maybe not as much, but cause there's been just,
Well, I mean,
let's go slightly off the thing for a little bit. Those ring camps have caught Amazon workers stealing packages. So
sure.
that's the importance of, I'll say the connection of cyber because these cameras are digital, they're cyber plus, physical because you got documentation that you got a thief instead of just reporting it saying, oh, I think it's a, thief. I'm not sure what he looks like, but now you have more details. So that's better for you because, it's not about what you know in court, it's what you could prove. So they're valuable to
Yeah.
us. Now go ahead.
And just to riff on that a little bit more, and we don't. I'm not an expert in like brick and mortar security or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, just to kind of double down on what you said there, if somebody breaks into a physical location, right? Like if you're a mom and pop shop right now, how do you take most of your payments? It's not cash, right? It's Square, Toast or whatever like that, right? So again, just to your point, right? Everything's far more digital. Back in the day, maybe you break in and there's you rob the till or something to that effect. I'd argue there's probably not any money in the till these days, right? Like it's all, a lot of places are just card only even. So again, yeah, cybersecurity is just important. Obviously, depending on the type of business, right? If you have an office and stuff of that nature, obviously you want to make sure that's secured as well, though.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, cash, look, it's becoming a rarity. I mean, only certain places still have that. I can't even call it a traditional cash register machine. It's digitized with some physical cash and change in there, but even more places step away from it. I know one place is all digital. I think it's this German, I'm gonna butcher their name. I don't care. You could make fun of me here. This is a good comment section activity for you people to make fun of me here, and I'm perfectly fine with it because I'm not. I think it's called Lou Wench. It's a fancy ice cream place that they said nope, we don't take cash. Everything was digital. I mean, check that cash register, and there's not a single physical cash in there. So that one's all digital, all digital. So if someone wants to break in, not gonna get cash. But I would still say physical, I
Yeah,
mean,
of
brick
course.
and mortar security is important because human lives are in danger.
Sure.
That crook could just get frustrated, whack the person, or shoot the person, depending what weaponry. Well, it's mostly a he, let's be real. He, she, or she has. Just, take his frustration out, or some will just retreat. No, let's just hope. Let's just hope it's that one. The thief just retreats because he's realized he made a foolish mistake. And then, of course, you call 911 and all that good stuff, and then hopefully nab him, and there you go. That'll be the ending you want to aim for, right? So, yeah, I would say physical security is important. The reason why we focus on cyber because, just like you said, the majority of financial transactions is digital. Majority of them. And I think another one, I'm not sure they still company Stripe is another one that does a lot of financial
Yeah.
transactions as well. That's another one I'm going to add in there. But yeah, but security is important. Security is important. And I think, one has some very wise advice. I'm going to quote probably someone political. I think Reagan, I don't say trust, but verify. Well, security is going to
Yeah.
verify the details for you, and that's proof right there. Yeah, you be kind of trusting, but also, verify too. I don't agree with that statement entirely. I mean, I will say I will verify, then trust. That's my revision of that. Oh, I need to make sure if I can trust you or not. I will put that probably in reverse. Verify, then trust. That'll be my revision of that proverb. All right, that's just my personal opinion. But security is just very important. Let me just be absolutely clear about that. To me, that should be a debate. How effective security should be, that will be a better debate. Not if you need security. If you need security, oof, you're just playing Russian roulette with your business. That's all I'm going to say about that. No, I don't recommend that at all. All right. So, anything else you want to add before I get to the next question? Because I feel like
Nah,
I'm
send
speaking
it.
through this. Well, now, this is something that, well, you'll be an advisor here. What can small businesses, or even, I'm even going to throw non-for-profits, if some of them are cheap, let's just be real, probably bashing non-for-profits here. Some of them are cheap because they get money through grants and governments and all that, and it's by a certain amount. And I have worked for non-for-profits, that's why I know. What can they do to improve their security?
Sure. I mean, there's a couple things, right? So if I was just going to list three things, the first one is improving the human layer. So Verizon every year does a data breach report, and they reported in their most recent one that 68% of breaches start at the human layer, right? So that means a human is responsible, whether that's now. Obviously, a human's responsible for like code and other things too. But like, for instance, getting social engineered, sharing information that shouldn't be shared, using a really simple password, those sorts of things, right? So given that that's such a big vector for breaches, my first piece of guidance to any organization that's looking to improve their cybersecurity is to improve their human awareness of cybersecurity, right? So making sure people are following good practices. They're using a password manager, you're using multi-factor authentication. You're not downloading random files. You're trusting but verifying, right? So there's a lot, especially in this era of like deep fakes and AI, right? There's a lot that can be faked. So if you can lock down the human layer, you've covered a very big portion of your potential attack surface, especially for smaller organizations where that's probably some of the biggest attack surface they've got. They don't have a ton of internet exposure or something like that, right? You want to make sure that the people are doing things in a secure manner, and what that also has the benefit of doing is downstream. So if you put security as a first class citizen within your organization, everybody's thinking about security on a day to day basis. They're also going to write more secure code. They're going to do more secure things if security is always something that everybody's thinking about. So just bringing it top of mind for the organization, I think is going to be a huge boon. Then as an organization, you want to make sure you got a handle on your assets, right? What's running around on your network? What's in your code base? Who's pushing what? Knowing what's out there and has your name attached to it. I think that's a lot of times, especially in this era of AI and vibe coding and whatnot, you've got people just spinning up all sorts of stuff all the time that potentially has vulnerabilities attached to it. What software is running on what machines? You want to make sure that you've got a handle on that. Once you've got a good disposition of that and a characterization in terms of prioritization, because some assets are going to be more important than others, then you want to also make sure that you're penetration testing those assets, right? Running assessments, scans, and again, pen testing. You want to make sure that you're taking the approach of an attacker and gaining insight into what an attacker could potentially exploit against your, again, infrastructure, network, applications, whatever it is. So those are some really good places to start. And then you've also got, there's frameworks for all this stuff. For instance, the NIST, the National Institute for Standards and Technology, they have something called the NIST Cybersecurity Framework. Highly recommend, if it doesn't cost anything. It's just it's a list of stuff that you go through and you start checking boxes. If you're trying to figure it out, start there, right? A lot of it has to do with like creating policies, right? A lot of those policies apply to like humans and how you approach things. So that's kind of where I would start, right? And if you need help, give Dark Horse a call, right? We're here to help. If you are cost constrained, we're happy to help still. Not in the sense of like, oh, we'll take every penny you'll give us. But, I've got testers that are happy to work pro bono even because they're just passionate about making the world more secure. That's what Dark Horse is about. That's what they're about. And so if you need help, we'd love to help you identify your vulnerabilities or even just give you some insight around like, here's what you should be thinking about in terms of your security posture and so on and so forth.
Sounds like a free consultation right there. Yeah, even pro bono. I don't hear other tech businesses, talking about pro bono. I just say don't take advantage of them. But if you want to start a business, I say, hey, I think this would be a good start right there. Pro bono means they're just so passionate. Let the passion take over, their financial interests. I mean, look, that's very generous. That's
We're not
pretty
trying
generous
to build
right
a
there.
billion-dollar startup, right? We're not taking funding. We're just out here. Again, the mission of Dark Horse is just to make the world a little bit more secure, right? And the corollary to it is like we're making the world more secure by making it easier to become secure, right? If you remove all these hurdles and things like that, it makes it easier for organizations to become secure. And again, everybody wins, right? It's not just the organization that wins. I also win. If I use your software, if my wife uses your software, if my kids use your software, right? We, we're more secure as a function of it. It's better all the way around.
That's very philanthropic right there. All right. So, now I got the AI question because this season we are not making AI the main character of the tech segment. And so far, I think I'm been doing a good job except for one episode. I already told you listeners and viewers that AI is going to be at best a secondary character because before it was the main character. It was AI in education, AI in law enforcement, AI in business, AI in this, AI in your life, AI in your job, everything AI. But let me just ask this question about AI. How does, and I want to make this as mixed as possible because I don't like simplicity. Yes, I could be a complicated bitch to you and I am happy. But anyways, the real question is, how can AI improve and hinder cybersecurity efforts?
You honestly kind of answered it right there by yourself already. That's a lot of people will ask that question. It's like, oh, like how is AI gonna like improve attackers and how is AI helping the defenders? The reality is it literally does both, right? And so if you if you look at, right, what AI has done for coding, it just makes people a little bit faster, right? It's not changing the way people, it does, it fundamentally, like, it does provide access to more people doing more things, but like code isn't changing, right? It's not like something brand new. It hasn't just morphed into something that it wasn't before. You're just able to do more of it a little bit more quickly. Some of the estimates are like 20% faster, 30% faster, double the capacity, right? So same holds true for cybersecurity, right? It just helps you do a little bit more quickly, more efficiently, scalable, gives you insights. So, but it's used by the attackers and it's also used by the defenders, right? This, security has always been this cat and mouse game. The attackers are always finding new vulnerabilities, and the companies are always patching those vulnerabilities. So find vulnerability, patch it. Find a vote. Same thing's going to happen with AI, or is happening with AI. So the defenders are using AI to, find attacks more quickly, or like spot breaches or issues, and the attackers are using it to launch more and more effective attacks. And so you just kind of, it just continues to be this sort of, it's just kind of, it's the same game that's always been played. It's just playing on a new dimension, as it were.
I like that. It's like a new dimension cat and mouse. You wanna protect. The cat is the security. The mouse is the enemy. Because the mouse, they're nasty. They take food. We'll make sure the cat is effective. And let's just be clear, just like quality of products. Some security softwares are not effective. Like, they're like Garfield, that lazy cat that refuses to get off his butt, and he just goes for the lasagna instead of doing his job as a cat. Scare the mouse, or even better yet, eat that little vermin, So I think, quality product matters here. And if possible, is it possible to be proactive? I mean, I think pen testing, pen testing, just to make it short. Pen testing, maybe that's making proactive. I mean, you can't be proactive for everything. It's just impossible, but you can at least know where your vulnerabilities are. Ethical hacking is to see where the vulnerabilities are. Maybe it's 1, 2, 10. Ooh, 10. Ooh, that's a bit alarming if that's true. Or maybe even more.
You'd be surprised how much is out there. There's a lot of vulnerabilities in a lot of different places. Just put it that way.
So I'm sure someone's made an AI that's gonna try attacking multiple vulnerable places just to get into the system. And
I mean, we're building that right now too, right? So like we're building sort of autonomous, next tier automation with AI, and a lot of people are, right? But
yeah, for those who are, I would say, proactive and somewhat virtuous, but of course those who got evil intent, it's making some massive malware, ransomware, or super adware. This gives you a bunch of ad pop, and of course I think the original maker of adware, he freaking not adware, ad pop-ups, he apologizes. Apologies not enough.
I forgot about
bad
adware.
in your
that was a thing in the early. Yeah, that was a time.
I encountered that on my friend's computer. I said, "Why does ad keeps popping up? You click it out, it pops right back up." It was so freaking annoying, and I'm not sure that's the thing. I haven't heard much about that, but I'm sure ransomware, malware, they exist. Of course, viruses that extract personal information. I'm sure they still around. These, they're pretty clever. These evil doers. And this is why I gotta be vigilant, because the good ones, they always steps ahead. Not the ones that are on par with security. Nope, that means they're defeated. But if they're ahead, they will cause some damage. I think this is why cybersecurity is essential. It is life and death in the digital dimension.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't emphasize it. Yeah, go ahead.
We have a phrase that hack yourself first, right? Before you get hacked, just hack yourself first, right? Just hack yourself first, find those vulnerabilities, and then you won't, take them off the table.
You know what? That's good advice. You hearing that, listeners and viewers? You hearing that, especially those who got some computer background? Do that. Yeah, do that. You see the obvious vulnerabilities. I'm sure you could find something that as easy for the evildoers just to get your information or breach. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I don't hear a lot of people say that. You see, just because I bring multiple cybersecurity, them trying to bring unique aspects of each of them. So far, this is the most philanthropic out of all of them. And well, one I gotta respect was more out of the box, trying to create cybersecurity for a phone with a fingerprint, as opposed to having or not just fingerprint through the computer and the phones like that. Because so much security is true. It's very smartphone oriented. If you hack the smartphone, you got treasure chests of valuable information, which I actually have to agree with him on that one. I forget the name of the product, but it's not about that product, so I don't care. I can forget because it's about Dark Horse. It's a Dark Horse episode, people. When I do the next one, and then I'll probably forget about Dark Horse, unless it's super relevant. Maybe early 2000s, definitely in the 90s, not as important. But I would say since 2010s, I'm going to treat it as important as brick and mortar physical security. That's the main point of all of this. And look, a lot of them seem to aim for affordability, but there's even a little bit of pro bono aspect. So don't always attack me for pushing expensive products. I've been doing a little better at that because some of them I agree with the criticism. Yeah, some of them's kind of expensive. But this one here, this one definitely has some affordable services. Give it a shot and let's do that shameless plugin. What is that website again? Darkhorse.sh. That's very different. It's not a .com. I'm sure you probably would have found hundreds of Dark Horse. Dark Horse this, I don't know. Dark Horse is a Trojan virus. Dark Horse is a sex product. Dark Horse is an education tool. I'm not sure Dark Horse should be used for all that, but maybe, hey,
a lot of Dark Horses.
Too many Dark Horses. So that was the only thing I was about to almost criticize. I don't know. Dark Horse has been kind of saturated, but hey, but it's .sh, not .com. I'm going to put the link in the description of the episode. So you can just find it and click it. Cool. And anything else you want to plug in besides that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're here to help, right? So our goal is to make proactive security accessible and affordable to organizations of all sizes and budgets. So we're not really focused on personal security, right? But if you've got an organization you're trying to get a little more secure, we're happy to help. That's kind of what we're here for.
They're willing to help, okay? They're just really willing to help. Look, they're not profit first, kind of. Should I call you even a business? I'll say, yeah, you are. A philanthropic business.
We're not a nonprofit, though I've considered reorganizing. We'll see.
No, as of now, I'm just going to call it a philanthropic business. Yeah. That's the framing I'm going to use until you change, of course. And then I'm sure, cybersecurity is going to be more relevant or less. And who knows? You probably got to protect the human body at this point. I don't know. That's a little scary because, we got Neuralink.
That's a real thing. Pacemakers, hacking pacemakers, stuff like that. There's some really fun research on some of those things.
We're increasingly becoming cyborgs, whether you like it or not. We're getting there. I mean, it's already been tested. I'll say even last decade with having the chip inside, the human hand. Yeah, inside. Not a little card, not a little chipstick. No, it was inside a person. They use their hand just to get it. And of course, there was a lot of debate. Oh, is this ethical? This is invasion of the body and privacy and all of that. It was very controversial at the time. This was like early 2010s, I think. I could be wrong. It was a company in Minnesota that they did that. So, so this is why cybersecurity is becoming more important. That could be the norm. I mean, I'm not sure it's guaranteed, but I won't be surprised. That could be a norm. I'm just saying, if we head towards that direction, I won't be surprised. I'm not a futurist. Don't give me that title, but I won't be surprised because if things are done on small scale, especially if it's successful or being pushed, it's going to just get larger and larger and larger and larger. Okay. So look, we already got Neuralink. I think Neuralink's the most prolific example that we're connecting chimps and even beings into neural supercomputer networks, whatever you want to call it. So if that gets hacked, you're hacked too. You're physically hacked as well. So I that's why cybersecurity is more important. I love you can call conspiracy theories. I really don't care. It's like it's eventually coming. Is it going to be as evil as you think? No. Is it going to be as good as you think? I'll say no. I think it's going to be in the middle. I think it's going to be some good and bad. This is like with all major technological disruptions. It's going to be some chaos along the way, and there's going to be some benefit along the way. Just like with AI. AI, update your skills. Learn AI, or else your career will die. I will say that again because it is just very, very, very important. And if you choose to be a digital dinosaur, be anti-AI, then your career will die. But if you're close to retirement, good for you. That's all I'm gonna say for those of you. I don't care. I'm gonna be retired. Good for you. No, and I'm not, I mean no disrespect. I really don't mean any disrespect. Great. You don't have to deal with AI as much, but things you might have to deal with it during travel, during leisure stuff, because AI is being implemented in so many different places. So you can't escape AI unless you live in the Amish, off the grid, either 18th century or if you want to go even further back, caveman societies. That's the only way you can avoid AI. And is that practical? No, I don't think so. Unless you know how to survive in the woods or something. That's all I'm gonna say. Bit over the top, yeah. But those are for you who wants to avoid AI altogether. Just have someone help you with AI, okay? Especially those if you're not going to use it professionally. Anything else you want to add before I wrap this up?
Nah, man. Thanks for having me. It's been fun, kind of just jamming on some topics. So hopefully provided some value and some insight to your audience, and yeah, see where it goes.
Not probably. You definitely provide some value. And like I said, my only concern was how I was going to differentiate, but you differentiated enough. And of course, a little bit of my wackiness and randomness and adding politics and tea that helped a bit as well because that's the most recent hack during this recording. By the time it's gonna be released, it'll probably be a week from now. Which is so now for my shows, shameless plug-in. Like, comment, subscribe, share this for someone who you believe that could be very helpful for, especially cybersecurity related concerns, knowledge. And if when you give a review, give it only on Apple Podcasts. If you give it on Spotify, I will ignore you because I don't care for Spotify. It's only my personal playlist. I don't care. I will ignore it. And if I ignore it, if you want to become a bitch about it, I already said it before. Good. Put it on Apple Podcasts. Those are only reviews I'm paying attention to. All right. And then if you're going to give a review, if you're going to be critical or praise, put some thought into it. Why was it good or why the episode was not so great? It just, I don't mind. I don't want the perfect score, which I'm happy an Invisible Hater gave me 1 star without saying anything. Thanks a lot, Invisible Hater. But hey, at least I got some authenticity. I don't want a 5 star because I think everything is 5 star. It's fake. It's pretty fake. I know some podcasters got all 5 stars. I think it's fake. I know some of you are going to be triggered by it, but that's what I think. You call me a hater if you want. You're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to the facts. Only opinion, not facts. Okay? So, and another thing, I'm on Facebook, YouTube. No, I'm going to be expanding my social medias, except for I'm going to be taking down Twitter. It's called X because I'm just not getting much engagement there. There's no point in me having my account there. So that's going to be taken down, but it's going to be expanded greatly with hopefully if TikTok's not banned because they've been pushing the deadline to sometime in September. I'm going to keep playing with that. But it's going to be on Instagram and Blue Sky for sure. Testing Blue Sky. Maybe Blue Sky get more engagements or maybe the Republicans are right. It's a cancel culture haven for lefties. I don't know. I'm going to give it a shot. The truth is normally in the middle. Okay. I mean, they hated JD Vance. I get the reasons why. But hey, my politics is more in the center at the end of the day. Maybe I swing a little bit in center left, center right, depending on the climate. But I always stood kind of in the center, no matter how much I switch. I always that's been my thing. All right. So, and if you have extra money, then only $3 if you want. That's if you want. But if you really want cybersecurity help, of course, also check out Dark Horse SH. You go.com, you're going to the wrong Dark Horse and you might be hacked. Oh, there you go. Put some fear in there. But, and That's it. That's all I got. So whenever you complete this audio visual journey, you have a blessed day, afternoon, or night. And it's hypocritical that I'm bashing you after saying that, but I mean well for the most part. I'm just rough around the edges. That's the New Yorkness in me. Enjoy your life.